Greetings, viewers. Thank you very much for joining this broadcast, this very special broadcast. I hope that all of you are safe, well, having a great day. And today I've got my friend and broadcast colleague here on the show with me, Amy Bolding or Lady Bolding. And she will be talking a little bit about how to enhance and strengthen your mind, your body, your emotional state. She has done a lot of work with clients from different parts of the world, and she's helped a lot of people with emotional disorders, life events that are seriously traumatic. And the interesting thing is, I met Amy a while ago, and she's worked in the medical field, and she herself has taken herself out of very dark places. A lot of therapists go into therapy because they themselves have experienced trauma, but Amy has experienced a lot of trauma, and hats off to her. She's come out of it. She's always shining light, and we will go through things, but we have ways to deal with them. Sometimes we don't have ways to deal with them. She has produced something very powerful, which I'll talk about a little bit later, and she will, of course, talk a bit more about too. It's called Spilling Tea. It's a very good book. I would highly recommend. But let me introduce Amy, and perhaps, Amy, if you could kindly tell the viewers a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Thank you so much. And I'm so happy to be here and so happy to be doing a recording together. We keep planning these things, and thankfully, as blessings go, we've been busy. So my name is Amy Bolding, and I am an author, I'm a speaker, I'm an awareness coach, and most importantly, I am an ambassador of love and light. I have come upon this work naturally. It was rough, but it's interesting how we find what we're supposed to do through what we go through. And if we're aware enough, sometimes we go through things and we feel like that's just the end goal. That's life. It's hard. You're supposed to just kind of get drugged through life. And I'll tell you that it is not supposed to be that way, and that there is light, and that you can go through healing, and that healing is not linear. It is up, down, in between, in and out. And so I've been blessed enough to have clients from all over the world. And so that's what actually brought up Spilling the Tea, is because of some of the work that I've had to do. I don't know how far you want me to go back into my childhood, but I can go into some of my experiences, or where would you like for me to go?
I put this background up because it's quite interesting. You mentioned that it's not all uphill, and you know that this is exactly what I wanted to come out of this picture, because it's kind of, it dips and then it goes back up and then down, and it's kind of come from something that you mentioned in your book. The book that Amy has produced helps us to deal with past trauma that we've not fully had a chance to look at and examine, because if that's not dealt with, it can reemerge in different ways. And perhaps, Amy, you can give a very basic process that someone who may be going through something now can do as a maybe 5-minute ritual in the morning to just help them change their state in some way.
Sure. So the first thing that I would suggest when you get up is do not look at your devices. Do not look at your cell phones. You should, if you have an alarm, let me go here first. If you have an alarm that you have to get up to, make it a peaceful alarm. Make it nature, birds, that are chirping, or waterfalls, not those loud, heavy beeps, because it sets an instant emotion. When you think about sirens and you think about stuff like that, you don't think about something peaceful. You think about an emergency or something that's heavy. So that, do not look at your mobile device at all. The other thing is just to sit there and I'm thankful. Say it as many times as you feel led. I usually say it no less than 10 times. And I just say, I'm thankful, I'm thankful, I'm thankful. And then set the intention for that next segment. So if you know that you need to get up and you need to go and do something, say out loud, affirm what you want. I'm about to go into a shower and have a wonderful shower. I'm going to meet with amazing people at work today. Today's going to be wonderful. And you set that before your day and you go into that. Because I think a lot of times what we do, I'm so glad you asked this, is we roll into our representative, we roll into our role play, we roll into what we're used to performing for that day, and we just really lost all sense of self, and we just forget that there's a whole being here. It's more than just what we've signed up to do as a job or a person or a title. So yeah, that would be the first thing, is start out with gratitude, disconnect from any social media stuff. And if you're not a person who goes into prayer, meditation, just at least give your gratitude, say thankful, thankful, thankful. And if you are a person of meditation, if you can get that in, that's the best time, because there's not much going on yet. You have an easier time to connect. So yeah.
Wow, that is fantastic, fantastic, and I can vouch for Amy. I think that she's someone who has gone through some very dark times and has pulled herself out of it. And I always say that you can't take advice from someone who has not been there. She's certainly been there quite a few times. And again, I'm gonna let Amy tell you in her own words, but how would you, Amy, how would you deal with past trauma that haunts you? How would you how do you address that? Because can you tell them one of the stories that you've told me? Some of them brought, because I knew you before knowing what had gone on, and we were speaking, it actually brought tears to my eyes, because I knew you, and I thought, oh, that actually happened to you. So no, not at all. So that I felt hurt hearing that had hurt you. But can you tell them about something that you've been through and how you came out of that?
Wow, it's almost like, what do I pick, right? And I don't say that in a braggadocious way. I say that because I believe those who are challenged are here to give much. And so I actually now, because I'm coming from a healed place, can actually say that it's a gift given, though it may have seemed tumultuous at the time and something that, really hurt. Now I can actually give gifts and light out of that. So one of the things I want to talk about was, I guess, my very first experience was being beaten very, very bad. My mom passed away when I was 6. And so I was sent to different homes and I was sent into foster care. But in one of the homes, I was beaten really, really, really bad. And I'm talking about, extension cords. I'm talking about being told to eat bars of soap chunk by chunk, having your head hit on porcelain sinks, being drugged down the hall by your hair, being told that you're hated, being told. And the thing was, I never knew that my mom had passed. These people had just kind of came, they took me, they kept saying my mom was on vacation. Well, I guess through that, I had said some things that she had heard in the hallway, she being the woman who was beating me pretty bad. And she was tired of it. And so she said, tell her where her mother is. And so they proceeded to tell me that my mother was dead. And so from that point on, I started running away. Now, mind you, you're probably thinking, what age were you? I was somewhere between the ages, I'm going to say about 7 or 8, because my mom passed when I was 6. You don't keep track of time too well. And so running out there, sleeping on the slides late at night, I learned that sleeping under a car was a very warm place and that people really couldn't see you. But there's a lot of interesting things that happen under there late at night. So that's one instance. And it kept playing back to me. It until you heal it and pull it forward and become one with it and look at it, it will continue to haunt you, not just in visuals or audibles, but in reference points of your life. And I think a lot of times we don't understand that. We call this thing saying, I survived it, but we don't actually process it. So we truly didn't survive it. We have just ignored it. And so we become very good at ignoring it. So tea therapy is, and that's where tea therapy kind of came along, is I had to get to a place where I had to say, I want to become one with myself, which meant that I was going to have to do the deep work for everything that has happened to me. And I think sometimes we don't realize that it's not about the blame, right? Being as that I was a 4-pound baby and my mom had used drugs, which thankfully right before she passed, she changed her life. I also had to clear that up. Even though she didn't know she was dishing that generational thing, I still had to clean that up. Though it wasn't my habit, things were splashed on me. So tea therapy, and that's where it came from, was how do I get rid of this? How do I do this? And so it's a 5-step process that I go over in the book. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing, and I like the way that you put it, because it's quite clear that you've cleared a lot of emotional blocks, and the way you talk about being under the car and it's a nice warm place and you smiled, that takes a lot of energy and power and self-work to be at that level. And perhaps someone watching this will think, wow, she can smile whilst talking about that level of trauma, being dragged by her hair, being forced to eat soap. I didn't know about the soap bit, so that's awful for anyone. I mean, but a 6-year-old or it's a 6 to 8-year-old, that is awful. And then to find out that mum had passed away while you were there. So anyone watching this, you may find that you're pushing it away because you're fearful of confronting those demons. But it's the best thing you can do. And the good thing about this book, because I've done the process a couple of times, and the good thing is it's a good walkthrough. You do it in your own time. Tea therapy, correct me if I'm wrong, okay, but tea therapy is something that is ongoing and you use forever, right?
Yes.
So it's really good, because after each process, you feel a little bit more complete, like you've evolved and you've gone on to another level. And it will be painful sometimes, and it will be fulfilling at the end. But
yes,
you have to face your demons, and otherwise you'll be living a lie. And I think that this book is the perfect way to settle and rebalance you. And you can see clearly from what Amy said, she's talking about very traumatic issues that she's now able to talk calmly about. And here's an interesting question, Amy. Would you change anything about your life if you were given a second chance and you were asked, you can come back as someone completely different? Would you do that?
absolutely. And I know that if you would have asked me this question 5 years, well, about 7 years ago, I would have probably said, "Oh yes," I would have threw the whole deck away, But and I wanted to say this too about that book. I go and give real life examples about the experiences I had with sexual abuse, physical abuse, being locked in closets, digging in the dumpster at 40 after losing everything, and how frustrated I was that, wow, I survived my childhood and then I still had to deal with all this in my adulthood. Like that was so, there was that moment, the second time in my life that I had thought about taking my life. And that's when tea therapy came in. So it doesn't matter how big or how small you think what you went through is, because so many times we say, oh, I survived it, I'm big, I'm good, it doesn't matter, or that's nothing to cry about. There's kids who go, they don't even have a house to live in. Never compare your pain with somebody else's, because what keeps me paralyzed in my motion of life, or in my feeling of full love and full wonder, may be different compared to yours, but that doesn't mean that yours still isn't big to you. So don't ever, feel that your pain is not important enough to heal, regardless of how big or how small you may think it may be.
And that's a fantastic point. I think a lot of people felt intense levels of pain during the pandemic. And there are a lot of people who are still suffering the pain of not being able to see friends, not being able to see relatives who passed away during the pandemic, relatives in care homes. I'm not sure about in the US, but in the UK, a lot of people were not able to go into care homes to see their loved ones, and they passed. And so there's a lot of trauma around that, a lot of trauma around losing business. And
Right.
I think that this kind of therapy is important to address that past trauma. Is there something that you would recommend, Amy, for anyone who is fearful? Because for me, the most important thing is to live in a vibration of love. And I know you're all about that. So living in a vibration of love, spreading that energy to as many people as possible, taking news fasts, doing all sorts of things to keep yourself and your mind in the right state. In fact, actually, I took a leaf out of your book. I took a phone and social media fast for 2 weeks. That was so liberating. I really enjoyed that. I just put a one-liner on all my social media: phone fast. See you soon. And that was it. And I was gone. And I felt so good after it. I feel like a new person. But I mean, is there anything, sorry, the question was, is there anything that you would recommend to someone who is in a state of fear, worry about anything from losing their job to just not doing well in life?
So there's two things I want to mention, because you had mentioned something about not being able to say goodbye to our loved ones or see them through the pandemic. And I would tell you, I'm not sure if you remember, but my best friend actually committed suicide during the pandemic, and that was really hard for me as well. One thing I want to tell you about that is T therapy, when you're doing them, a part of the instruction tells you as well, it's not just about the things that did happen that hurt, but about the things that didn't get to happen that hurts. And so that's another part of it. So make sure you read, whoever gets the book, read thoroughly. And I tell you, don't do it till you read the whole book. It's only like 45, 46 pages. You got it. I know you can handle it. The other thing is, as far as keeping love in a time or a feeling of being fearful, you can't serve two masters, right? You can't serve fear and you can't serve love. So what I always do with my clients, I do rubber band therapy. I do different techniques, but just I do ABCs of gratitude with beads every day. But in an instant, when you feel something coming at you that feels heavy, I always imagine that situation like it's maybe a flame on the top of a candle, and you blow that situation out. You just blow it out. And sometimes you're going to do that a lot of times before it finally goes away. Now, that's a tangible philosophy. That's something that can happen to you, and you can look at it visually. You could see yourself doing it. But as far as emotionally, you can't get from there to there. So you can't say, I'm not going to feel fear. I'm not going to feel fear, because all that does is raise the thought of fear. So what I've learned to do is find something that's absolute. Go outside, look at a tree, go run some water in your sink. Go find something that's absolute truth. And remember that everything's always working out for you. And you might say, well, I have a fear for the future. Stay here. As much as you can, stay here. Because a lot of times we start thinking of this what ifs, and it's like going down a dark rabbit hole. And that's really where the fear comes from. It's not really from the situation, because we don't know the situation. So we're predicting ghosts, if you will. And some people will say, yeah, but history tells us, or this type of thing happens, and this is what happens next. Choose not to participate in the thought. Blow it out as if it's a candle. Go find something real. Run your water, touch the grass, go by a tree. I often joke to people that I'm a tree hugger.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so they're like, wow, but I would literally go up to a tree and touch the leaf, because I
That's
know
brilliant.
that's where the truth is.
Yeah.
That's where the absolute is.
I love that. I love that. I do the same, Amy. I do the same. I just touch things, nature. I touch the trunk of the tree, and I
Yes.
touch the ground as a sign of respect. Just because I understand that not everyone is surrounded by nature and beauty of nature. That's really good advice, viewers. I hope that you are taking notes and taking all of this on board. Amy, is there a ritual that you personally go through in the morning? Do you do anything to gear yourself up for the day without fail? Anything, if you have less time, is there are there a couple of go-tos that you always use in the morning?
Yes. Yes. And I'm so glad you asked that, because I just had somebody actually give me a compliment. We rent Airbnbs together as a family group sometimes. And she knows me because of her family. And she goes, you always do this. And so I'm going to tell you what I always do. So I can be anywhere or with anybody or out of town, which I am often, or wherever. And I will literally get up, again, not pay attention to my social media. I will get up. I will do my gratitude. I'm thankful. I'm thankful. I'm thankful. I'll meditate. And then from there, I do my best, weather permitting, go out into nature with my pen and paper and with whatever book that I'm reading, because I can only give who I am. And I know if I am lacking in my own connection with the truth, with love, with what is, then I will get confused and conflicted in the realm of what looks like our reality. So I have also found that if I absorb from what is around me first before I absorb what is in me, then I'm partial. At that point, I'm partial. So whether it's to my friend, my kids, my neighbor, the person at the grocery store, no matter who it is, if I have first went to the realities of the world and into this representative I have to be for this external atmosphere, then I'm not full and I'm not whole. Versus as to where if I practice my strengths, which is understanding that I am more than just this body. I am more than just a physical element, but that I serve my soul and my spirit first, then I'm coming from a place of truth and of love. So that's it. I get up, I meditate, I'm thankful, my I ams. I go outside with pen and paper, preferably out to nature, stretch, do some movement in my body, and then I can start my day.
Wow, that's very powerful, very powerful. Anyone who's watching who is going through a bad patch, and I know some of you are finding it difficult to take a fast from the news and from the you feel it's important to be tuned in to current affairs. Okay, but you don't have to do it first thing in the morning. You can look at the news after doing this ritual that Amy has suggested. I think that's absolutely amazing. And connecting with nature, connecting with what's inside. That's very, very powerful. Amy, if people want to purchase this book, is Amazon the best place to pick it up?
Yes, you can get it from Amazon, and then there's other, I think there's different stores that have it, but primarily Amazon is the easiest and everybody knows it, so you can get it on there and they get it to you pretty quick.
And I mean, although Amy said it's around 45 pages, it's very informative. I mean, it's the perfect length because it's packed with information. It's very powerful, and you can get going quite fast with this. But it's a deep process. So yeah, you can do it. Read it through all the way through, understand how to do it properly, and then have a go. And this is my suggestion. I went straight into doing a very deep piece, but I think do a smaller one first, and as Amy says in the book, then look at having gaps in between each process. But this very powerful. Amy, I mean, what about if people want to get in touch with you as a therapist? What's the best way to do that?
So the quickest way is probably through Facebook. If you go to Amy Bolding, you'll see a link tree, little link, and you can click it. And on there it has a icon of an envelope, and you can click that and just email me directly. It also has links to all my social media handles. You can message me there too, whether it's TikTok or Instagram. Lady Bolding and Amy Bolding are how you're going to find me. If you just forget, just Google it. Google is great at keeping everybody's business. It's on there.
Mm-hmm.
You'll find me. But one quick thing I want to say about this, the reason the book came up is because somebody wanted it for somebody they loved. They wanted it for their husband and knew they wouldn't go get traditional help, as in going to talk to somebody. So maybe you want to try something by yourself. This would probably be a good start. Yeah.
Wow, that's brilliant. Amy, I'm going to drop any links in the description box here for our viewers. And viewers, please do buy the book because it's very powerful. I'm going to keep using tea therapy or spilling the tea in my own life. I'm going to keep using it because I found it very valuable, very, very, very useful indeed. And please leave a comment, leave a like, make sure that you share this video with anyone who's going through something, who's finding it difficult to cope with life. And feel free to get in touch with Amy wherever you are in the world, because she does a lot of work online as well as in person. So lastly, thank you, Amy, for joining this broadcast. It's been an absolute pleasure as always.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. And I will see you very soon.